Welcome back, everyone. My name is Christian Gradowski. We're going to do a tying video today. I'm going to have two different videos from this one sit-down session. First, we need to clean this. I've taught some classes for the workmen's the past couple weeks, and it has turned into this, which is not pretty to look at when you're doing a tying video. So we're going to clean this up, and then we're going to get into the first steelhead swing fly. All right, guys, so we were starting off with that 40 millimeter shank that I showed you right there in the beginning, and then we're just gonna put that into our vise. We have our Vivas 100 denier. We are just gonna crank this whole thing down. We are going for a springtime sculpin. The next thing we're gonna grab is our fire line right there. So we're just gonna pull a chunk of fire line out and give that a snip with our wire cutters. And we got our thread base down, and we're gonna fold over our loop. And I like to cinch, get a little runaway there. I like to cinch everything down. There we go. Once we got that loop, we're gonna lay it back here, and we're just looking for enough to kind of hang off the back of the fly. And that is usually my marker right there with all these swing flies. And once we get it tied down on either side of that flat part of the shank, we are going to pull both the strands up top and wrap them on the top side. This is going to be a weightless fly. You can tie this weighted. All you got to do is add some dumbbell eyes or some bead chain right there in the front. But for the most part, we're doing this fly weightless because I need some backups for the spring. So then right there, you see I tied an overhand knot. There we are. Going down through, out the bottom. Now that bugger ain't run away. No steelheads pulling this through. You're breaking the line, your head, something else before this thing pulls through on you, and you ain't losing your big fish. So first step, what we're gonna do is we are gonna add some of these saddle feathers. You can add any color you want. I'm going for the straight olive pattern on this fly, so I'm gonna keep with the olive. These are very hard saddles to find nowadays, but don't get discouraged. And we're gonna pick off two off of our cape here, two roughly the same size and diameter. And I'm kind of brutal with these, just give it a pluck. So we're gonna try to match these up, and that looks good lengthwise. They're both gonna kick weird, but in the water they'll look just fine. But a big thing you gotta realize is there is a good side and a bad side, right? So we want that kind of matte side sticking out, not that glossy dull side right there. So first we're gonna tie in one right out the back, and we're gonna kind of think about where our hook's gonna be, and we're gonna cover that up. And there we go. Right there on the side, little up kick, perfect. And then we're gonna grab this guy, go right on the side, cinch all that down nice and tight. You can see I'm laying out the back like that. Looks really, really good. This kind of gives us that very skinny profile out the back, which I like a lot. I like that taper. Gobies have a fat head, skinny butt. So we got that taper out the back right there, and that looks pretty good. Next we're gonna do is our UV polar chenille and olive copper. We are going to just find our end, tie that bad boy in there right on top or the side, don't matter. And we're gonna go all the way to right where that loop of the shank kind of ends right there. So about right there. And we are just palmering this up. Does not need to look fancy. This is just an underbody that's gonna get covered with stuff. This is a very sparse fly, but it does well in that spring and low water when they kind of get picky again. I'm swinging these behind the beds or post spawn for the drop back fish, and I do very well. A little bit bigger of a fly, but for the most part, they are looking for a bigger snack after they're done spawning. So as we got up to there, wrapping that down and giving that a snip. Alrighty, so now you're kind of looking at that and you're like, Christian, not a whole lot going on right there. Well, we got to add a couple more steps. We got to build a body and a head and some shape to this. So what we're going to do to help us with that is we're going to add some schlappen to add a nice collar to kind of bulk everything up here in the front. And with this, I like to add 2 medium-sized ones. And when I say medium size, this is when I pull this out, that's what I'm looking for. So if I were to wrap it, it's gonna be about that on the top and the bottom. And we're gonna pull 2 of these out. Remember, we're aiming for the same kind of size and length with both feathers, just so we don't have issues. Now we're gonna go up here to the back. We're gonna kind of fluff some of this out, and we got them paired pretty well here. And I'm gonna strip off the back ends of all this fur and all that stuff. So I have some exposed feathers right here. And there we are. So we're gonna just tie those in right there behind our polar chenille. So now we got our 2 feathers. I like to splay them out so they look nice and pretty. Work our thread up, and we are gonna start tight Palmer wrapping this right on the fly. And this is gonna give us a good body before we put our wings and our gill feathers on. And you can tell this is a guide fly. There's nothing special about it. It just kind of gets bit for me. And I'm really keeping these wraps tight on this. And I'm working all the way up to the very ends of my tips because I like the taper that the schlappen will give me. And there we go, we're tied off. Ain't too bad if you ask me. That ain't too bad so far. Now we're gonna add some fancy stuff to it, okay? So first we're gonna add our copper Flashabou. Love copper, love all of it. And we're gonna grab very minute amount. I'll show you what a minute amount is. It's gonna be about 4 strands. Then we're just gonna fold this right on top. We're going to wrap that guy in right on top. Get another secure wrap, fold that over, go right out the back just like that. Alrighty, next up, we got our holographic red. So grab 5 strands, give them a snip, and lay that the same out the back. And then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and fold that over. Kind of staying right on top of those wraps right after that schlappen. Then we're gonna come in right there, snip it a little bit longer than the other one. Looking pretty good so far, but now we're gonna add some extra flair to it. So our extra flair is gonna be this peacock ice fiber. But before we add this in, we are going to lay one of these feathers in on top. You can do 2. If you got skinny ones, so if I'm searching through here, if I can find some real skinny ones, I'll do 2. That's a little bit thick. But if I can find some of these skinny, stiffer ones, like right there, that's actually 2 perfect, longer, skinny ones. We're gonna steal those off this hide. There we are, and we're going right on top. There we go. Looking good. There we go. So, got our little profile right there of our goby. Now we are gonna add in those pec fin feathers, and we are gonna turn these on the outside. And what I mean is we are going to have them facing this way on that fly. So they're facing out. Put them this way, they're just gonna suck in. So we're gonna go like that on the outside. All we're gonna do is strip back all that fluff, and we're gonna tie those right there on the side, just like that. Kind of get it right where we want it. We want it sticking up and out, and do the same on the other. It's a real basic fly. There's nothing too crazy about this fly. You can make swing flies complicated, or you can make them super easy, just like this. So then I'm gonna come in on the side over here. I'm gonna lay that feather down, wrap. It looks good to me. Tight wraps all the way down on that stem so they don't roll. There we go. Come in here and snip. We're gonna mix in a little ripple ice fiber. I do very limited amounts of this, and it's gonna go right on top like we would our normal flash. I have about 4 fibers in my hand right here, just right in on top after those feathers. And locking that down just adds a little bit of an extra bling to it. Nice little eye catcher if they're sitting in deep in the wood or something like that. Alrighty, now we're gonna take our Senyo's laser dub, and we are going to tease that out and get it nice and equal. And then we are going to push a little bit on, And tie that in. And we're gonna splay that out the back like that. And I like to work it top and bottom here. Kind of get those feathers still showing out. So work it in there, take your time. But you want those feathers to still be kind of poking out like that, you can see. That's looking real good. And then we're gonna do the same, take another good chunk. And this one we're actually gonna cut when we push it on. And I'm gonna kind of choke up on it. Get rid of my thread a little bit down there. Top and bottom push. Secure, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to take my scissors, cut out the front like that. And now I'm gonna do my wraps in the front like that. Work that thread in there. And there you guys go. I don't have a name for this swing fly. This is just my spring goby, spring sculpin is what I call it when people ask. That's real nice right there. All the way around, it looks really good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this marker, this Sharpie, and we're gonna just dot on either side. Right there. Don't know if it actually does anything. It does something in my head. So maybe that means something in the fish's head. But I like having 2 dark spots right there on the side like that. And there you guys go. That is my spring sculpin, spring goby swing fly.